Thank you, Ainsley, very much. Appreciate it. As Ainsley said, good morning, good afternoon to everyone, depending where you are today. We're going to talk about ePay Advantage, which is a web portal invoice presentment and payment solution. Some of you or most of you may know of our e-banking suite for Dynamics AX. This product is available on Dynamics AX 2012. There you see our modules that are part of our suite. The ePay Advantage is another module as part of the suite. So when you install our current version of e-banking suite, you get the ePay Advantage, and then you just need to license it to turn it on. So let's get started. We're going to talk about some statistics about online bill pay, what are customers demanding in this area, what are the benefits and the advantages of using an online bill pay solution, and then what is this PCI DSS overview data security standard by the payment card industry. They control the PCI compliance, and how does this solution fit into that mix? Then I'm going to show a demo of the software running on AX 2012, and then there's a little bit of surprise, something that we hadn't previously announced we'll come into, and then we'll have a Q&A. So this should be about a half-an-hour session. There'll probably be about 10 minutes or so for questions at the end, or whatever we need. So I always like to show this this visual. It really gives a sense of where we are today. I think this puts a smile on everyone's face. I think we're all very familiar with changes that take place in the technology sector, and they're different of us at different stages of our lives, understanding that and interpreting that in different ways. Let's look at invoicing cost in general. On the left, we've got some a list or a chart of the kind of costs that go into actually sending out invoices. This may be familiar to you. Again, these numbers are based on about 600 invoices a month. When you look at the pie chart at the right, what you'll notice is that many of these items have to do are very labor intensive. Other than the printing, a lot of this involves your resources being consumed with time. When you add this all up, the numbers above come to about $6,000 a month, or about $72,000 a year. Again, depending on the number of invoices you create, these numbers obviously can vary. But just want to highlight the labor intensive of the process of generating those invoices, getting them to your customers, and then actually getting the payment and applying the payment. Forrester has done some research and found out that online bill payers are 35% more likely to pay their bills on time. Interesting statistic. 12.5% less likely to leave you as a customer, and 20% are purchasing more products than the paper bill users. We'll talk about that in terms of why that might be the case. But some interesting statistics that would tend to indicate that online bill paying might be something you want to look at. This is an interesting chart. It's probably quite intuitive in terms of the orange lines going from a high down to a low in terms of other methods of payment over time. And the blue bar is, of course, increasing over time, electronic payments. And of course, with our e-banking suite, that's that's our wheelhouse, and also then in terms of C2B payments as well. We are finding in B2B also, of course, in terms of electronic payments, our suite fits that sweet spot. So what are customers demanding? They're looking for more control over their payments, that they're in control of how those payments are made, and they want something that's more convenient. And as you'll see, there's nothing more convenient than paying through a bill pay process. In terms of creating an integration or a solution that provides ePay, a bill pay type functionality, you really want to have that well integrated into your accounting system. There's no value in having an external application that then requires a bunch of hoops to jump over to get that data, either the payment information or the invoice information back and forth to an online system. So integration is very important. If you don't have integration, then of course double data entry. You can have information in one place and then information in your ERP system. Of course, there can be more error if that's the case. Also, real-time reporting. If you have integration tightly done, then you're going to get absolute data and information that's very timely. And then also you may need to reconcile the two systems on a periodic basis. So integration is critical. In terms of bill pay, security obviously is probably one of the most important issues there. And just as a note, that you as the merchant are the one responsible for protecting your card data. Some of you may not be aware of that, but thought that maybe holder, wherever the card's stored, if it's stored off-site, that they're responsible. Actually, you're responsible ultimately for that. And if you don't impose good security configurations and setups, there's some data that says that the cost of a small breach is in the 36,000 range. And then even worse, customers tend to leave those vendors that have had a breach of their system. So security, very, very important. We'll show today how our collaboration with Nodus really solves that problem for all of us. So what are the benefits? Some benefits and advantages of using online bill pay. Again, we notice customer satisfaction. As you're going to see, they're in control of the process. Payments can be collected early, tend to be collected early, as well as reducing late payments. The cost of payment collection goes down. As we saw, there's a lot of intensive manual labor and human labor in terms of the process. If that's more automated, then that cost goes down. Customer service, interacting with your customers on a regular basis. How many people have sent email notices or invoices on multiple occasions because the customer can't locate them? What if that were to be diminished? Your cost is going to go down. From an ecological standpoint, just reducing any paperless billing. Maybe most of you are sending electronic invoices today, but any that are sending paper invoices, if those can be reduced as well. And then an opportunity to upsell and cross-sell. As we're going to see, this solution involves a web portal, and with the web portal you can actually do advertisements and promotions on it. So as your customers come in to pay, they can see other products are available. And then in addition, of course, if there's no manual entry, as we're going to see with this solution, there's virtually none. Human error obviously is greatly reduced. So what we've done is collaborated with Nodus Technologies. They've been around in the GP space for many, many years. Over 1,300 Dynamics customers are using their solution. They've integrated with a number of gateways that you can see and processors. And so we're going to leverage their extensive background in this space. And so what we bring to the table, SK Global, is a full solution that provides the integration with AX and then also synchronizing up with the Nodus payment portal. We'll talk about that more in a second. So again, we're very glad to be partnering with this very well-established company in this space. The solution involves, as I mentioned, the AX integration, which we'll show in a second. It involves a website where you have this portal where customers come in to access their invoices and payments. The third component is what's called Pay Fabric. Pay Fabric actually exists in the Amazon Web Cloud. It's a solution there that actually stores the credit card information in a tokenized fashion, and it's the part that integrates with the processors and the gateways. So that's the piece that Nodus has and maintains, and so therefore the value is that it's been validated by PCI and validates against those standards. As I mentioned, there are multiple gateways and processors they interact with, and as we'll see, the payment entry and the wallet where you store the credit card information is securely stored in this Amazon Web Cloud, not in the web portal. So based on their experience over the years, they're continually updating and being evaluated by these service providers, the various credit card companies, and they're validated on those sites. You can go there and review their validations. So what is PCI compliance? It's a standard that's been developed by the payment card industry, or PCI, and it's designed to ensure that the credit card information is very securely stored and maintained. So why does this solution simplify the compliance? The compliance needs to be established by each merchant. So you're using AX, if you use a solution, you have to get a PCI compliance. And so why does this solution provide that security? So the actual the point of entry, where this data is being entered, as you're going to see, is on a screen, but that screen is actually hosted by Pay Fabric in the Amazon Web Cloud. That's number one. And number two, when that data is, after it's captured, is actually stored over on Amazon Web Cloud. So the two pieces your employees are not entering the data, and the data, once it's being entered, ends up in the Amazon Web Cloud. And so I'm just going to read this. It's very high testimonial, and those of you that worked at Nodus have a very high reputation in the GP channel. We have been PCI compliant for many years by using Nodus products. Over the last year, we converted 19 of our businesses from Nodus CE to Nodus tokenization. Again, the Amazon Web Cloud uses tokenization. And we also launched 15 ePay websites with embedded PayPal pages. These Nodus products give our systems a complete hands-off approach to PCI compliance, and we have a great partnership with Nodus, and their support team worked with us in every step of the way for a very successful project. The overall result of the project is a better customer experience and a more efficient system. So we've been working with them for over a year and a half now, and very pleased with the results. So with that, let me jump over to AX, and we're going to take a look at how this works in a real environment. So what you're seeing here is AX 2012. It's R3CU9. And as you can see, there's an ePay item in here. So when you get our current release of our software, that would be available. Let me start off in accounts receivable. I'm going to create a free text invoice. ePay can deal with sales invoices and free text invoices. And we'll be adding project invoices as well. I'll talk about them in a bit. So I'm going to just come in here and key in an invoice, free text invoice. Code it to an account, revenue account, and I'm going to put a $14,000 payment, and I'm going to post the invoice. So what's happening here is that's what we would do normally in AX, is create an invoice or a credit, which would go over as a payment. It's been posted. The same thing would happen as if you posted a sales order invoice. And now coming back to the e-banking suite, we have a queue that monitors those activities. And what we can see here is that it hasn't quite come through here yet. Oh, yes, it has. It has come through. So it automatically created a new invoice and sending it over to ePay. So we have a queue that monitors both in and out activities. Let me go over to ePay itself. So what we have here is the portal. Again, this portal is completely configurable to your environment. You can put your logo on here. You can put promotions. Any of these pages are completely customizable. I'm going to log in as that customer 3 that I just created the invoice for. So when I come over here, so what's happening is that the batch job that's running runs about every minute. So that would refresh this information on that kind of a timely basis. So as I come in here, I can see my outstanding invoices. That other one will come over in a minute. There it is here. Actually, we had it looks like we had a credit against it. It's coming over automatically. So once you come into the screen, you can actually drill into any invoice as a customer. We can see the invoice here in this kind of a form. I can actually click download the PDF, and this is a very nice feature. That actually brings over the PDF that was created out of AX. So if you created a custom invoice in SRS and AX, as soon as we release that invoice is created, it automatically will come over to ePay, and now your customers have it. So now what you've seen is that first part of the process, that basically invoice presentment. So without doing any emailing of invoices or anything, simply posting the invoices, now there's a portal where those invoices are displayed. So let me come in and say I want to do a payment. I've got these invoices out here. I could select all, which would go and select all those invoices, the remaining balance. I could do that if I wanted to. If I want to just pay one, I'm going to pay $100 against this invoice. So I come down here, I tab off, and it shows that I've got $100 I'm going to pay. I could do a prepayment if I needed to. I click pay. When I do that, it brings up the transaction, the $100, and now it gives me options for my wallet. I'll talk about that in a second. The wallet allows you to pick any of the kind of predefined wallets you've set up. So I've gone in as a customer and had a Visa card, MasterCard, e-check, which is effectively an ACH debit. Those are available. I could do a pay now, or I could actually set to pay it, say, on Friday when I know my cash is going to be better. I could do that. And then I'm going to submit it now. In this case, I'm going to pay for it now. This is now going out in real time to the gateway, to the Visa gateway of the processor you're using. It's brought back in a authorization code for me. It's created a payment number that I'm going to use and be able to reference back in AX. So that's all there is to it in terms of the process. From the customer side, they've done that. They've got the confirmation. And then back into AX, let's go back into AX and take a look into the queue. And so what we see here, that a payment came in from ePay, is brought in here at 118. What it did automatically was put it into a payment journal. We have an option set up to say, keep a journal open, or as a journal comes in after midnight, we're going to create a brand new journal and start entering those payments in. We've got that reference number that came over. I can drill into the payment journal. This is the one that it created. And we can see the item. This one, apparently I had one from earlier today, so now I've got another $100 credit in this. Again, you would see these stacked up to the end of the day, and at the end of the day you would just post this journal. This brings in and settles against that invoice. We have a reference back. This was the first one. Let me go to the second one here. This one ties back to the ePay website reference number, so we have a tie between the two systems. And this would be settled against that invoice, and then when you, of course, release and post the journal, the payment would be applied. And what I hope you noted is that in all of this processing, there was no entry by the AX user. Simply post the invoice, it appears on the portal now processes the payment by the customer, and that now automatically comes back into AX, into a queue, and you have that going into a payment journal. It's a very, very cool application. There's very little setup here. We'll talk about that in a second. But once it's up and running, it's just on autopilot. So I want to show you one other thing. I'm going to log out here as the customer, and now I'm going to log in actually and under my name, and I'm actually a CSR, Customer Service Representative. You can see that up here. With each AX customer, you can identify a salesperson that could manage their account, or a customer service representative. Because I'm identified with 3 ePay customers, I can now go and access any of their information as if I had just logged in as them. I could review their invoice, their payment history. I can drill into the payments that were done before. It doesn't look like there are any open invoices for this one. So let me go to another customer. I'm going to go to customer 3. And you can see invoices. I can drill in and see the invoices, and then I, on the customer's behalf, could go in and make payments for them. There's an option to allow me to enter credit card information, but if you don't want that, because that makes PCI compliance slightly more difficult, because now I, as an employee, am entering the information, you can lock that out so only the customer can maintain that wallet. So that, as a customer service representative, again, I can access all the customers that are under my control. What I want to do is go back, let me log out and go back and take a look at the wallet for that other customer. How's that maintained? This is a critical piece in terms of security. So on the menu, come in here and you can maintain the wallet. These are the different items that you saw before. I'm going to drill into the Visa card. You'll notice this loading. The website that I've been showing you prior to this screen is all a web portal. It's an IIS website. You can host it on-premise within your firewall. You could host it anywhere you like. But now as we go to this wallet entry, this no longer is in the web portal. This is going off to the Amazon Web Cloud and PayFabric, and this is all being maintained off-site. So the data that's being captured here and the data that's being stored as a token is done off-site, again, and this is what allows for the simplification of PCI compliance. So you can set up a credit card e-check, an ACH debit, as I mentioned before. Very key factor, again, allowing the maintenance of the wallet in an off-site location. So your AX database or your web portal database does not contain any of this sensitive credit card information. Okay, so that wraps up the brief demonstration. Let me go back, and now what we're going to talk about is this surprise that I mentioned. This should be coming soon. We expect it shortly. Very, very cool extension of a similar kind of functionality for ePay. So with this functionality, what we have a situation is I'm now on an invoice journal, and I have an invoice amount here that's due, and I'm on the phone with the customer, and the customer says, "Yep, I know that that invoice number 59. That's been problematic. Yeah, I promise I can pay it." and you say to them, well, what if I sent you a text or an email right now and you could charge it on your card? Would you be willing to pay it? Gotcha. So now they say, okay, do that. So we have a button here on that form that says create a pay link. The pay link simply comes up, and it's got this comes out of their setup in AX, their customer email, and their text, their SMS address. It's got the information, and so you would verify that information, or you could key it in differently. If they're on, maybe they're on vacation, they're at the beach, and they say, please send it to another number, you just key that in, and then you hit the send button. What happens is they immediately get an email saying this is what we decided. Again, this is all customizable, and then there's a link, and this is where the pieces of the pay link. So that what happens is they click that link, it brings up a screen that shows them what they're about to pay. This is that invoice, that $317,000 invoice, and now they get to say, well, I want to pay it by credit card. So they click that. This gives the credit card information. They verify that information. And then what happens, and this again comes out of their wallet, and or they can key it in, and then they process the transaction. Once they process it, they get the confirmation back, just as we saw before with ePay. And then the final step is they get an email sent to them, which tells them what's just occurred. Again, so what happens is when that payment comes through, just like ePay, it goes into a payment journal in AX and automatically gets applied just like it did with the portal. So this is an immediate direct connection with your customer, immediate way to collect monies right away. Again, PCI compliant because the data is being stored off-site and by the customer. You're not interacting with it. You're sending simply a pay link to reference an AX piece. Tightly integrated, again, very little hands-off. Again, this is the last step. Actually, it comes back into a payment journal and gets settled just like it did with ePay. So again, just in summarization of this whole process, with paper billing, you can see there are a lot of steps. It starts here. The invoice is created and posted. You have to render the invoice. You have to mail the invoice or email it. You have to deal with delivery of it. Someone writes you a check, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When we come over, we can see there are 4 items to create the invoice and then 4 items to pay on the left side. When we come over to ePay Advantage, we reduce that down to 2 items here and 2 items here. And again, the beauty of it is there's no human intervention, there's no double entry, there's no manual entry. You simply post your invoices in AX. The customer sees them, they can review them, no more emailing invoices multiple times, they make the payments. And with PayLink, a great way to immediately make collections against existing invoices. So just as a kind of a wrap up, let's talk about pricing. How is the solution priced? There are 4 components to it. The first part is it's the AX integration web portal. It's just another module in our solution it's priced out on a license. You're all very familiar with how our other modules are licensed, I presume. As with any other kind of perpetual license, there's an annual software assurance and support plan that goes along with it. There is a merchant account that's required. That merchant account may be one that you already have, and we just have to link that up with PayLink. Or if you don't yet have a merchant account, we have experts with the Nodus team that can go and find you and negotiate a rate for you to get a good merchant account that will hook up with PayLink as well. In addition, there's a small transaction fee, as you can see. This is based on payments per month. It's very, very nominal, and it's to cover that PCI compliant piece that's at the Amazon Web Cloud to make sure that your data is protected and it's being stored there. There's a cost, of course, to store that information in the Amazon Web Cloud. So there is still introductory pricing available. Please contact our sales folks. And what we have here, you've got my name and email. Please feel free to contact me. Ainsley Keller is on the call in terms of sales at SK Soft for the U.S. Jonas Anderson for anyone in EMEA can handle requests as well. So with that, Ainsley, that wraps up my part of the presentation. If there are questions or anything I can help with, please let me know.
That's great, Tim. Thanks so much. Can you hear me? I just want to make sure before I start talking.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, great. Yep. So we have a ton of folks on the call, and a bunch of questions have come in. I'm going to ask a few of the questions from our early morning session as well, because we're going to post this video on YouTube that way, so all the question and answers are are in one spot. So I'll go through some of the questions that our attendees have posted today. So the first question that comes in says, with the customer's prior approval, can a payment be pre-scheduled so payments are made consistently on a given date each month?
So a recurring payment against existing invoices. There is a feature there to do it. I think I'd like to know a little bit more about the requirement. Is it a repeating invoice that needs to get repeatingly paid, or a large invoice that needs to make a separate payment against it? So there are features like that. Again, I'd like to know a little more about the question. Maybe they could email it to me after the session.
Okay. How does this handle an RMA?
In terms of sales orders, we handle the credits. If you're talking in terms of a credit, a free text credit, any kind of credits need to be netted out in AX. We do not handle the crediting on the website itself, if I've got the question correct. So if you have any kind of a credit against it, it doesn't handle an authorization. It's not designed for document authorization, but in terms of the financial part of it, if you make the credit against the invoice, then that net amount is out there on the site to be paid. So the net amount then could be paid by credit card or ACH.
Okay. Can the ePay queue show the payment with the invoice number?
Yeah, so as we saw, the invoice number is there. If that's the question, let me just show that. So in ePay queue, so we do show the invoice number. There's a column for the invoice number, and then we show the payment journal if the payment's coming back. So the outgoing invoices are recorded here, and the payment journal is shown here that would have the incoming payment from ePay.
Okay.
Just as a comment, Ainsley, if that doesn't answer the question, if there's some other data point that you're looking for, please again send me an email. It may be that you're looking for the amount. I'm not sure, but I'd be interested to see what the other requirement is.
Okay, the next question says, how is pre-authorization handled? The sales order is entered by the CSR, but before we release the order to ship or build, we need to pre-authorize the credit card.
Yeah, very good question. So you've noticed what I've been talking about is paying against an invoice. So generally, of course, an invoice is created upon shipping. So this solution currently does not support as a standard credit card solution would in terms of authorization and then charging upon shipping. So this solution is based upon an invoice being posted, and of course at that time we would assume the product's been shipped. So there's no need with this solution for any pre-authorization, as opposed to a more of a standard credit card solution where upon taking the sales order you'd want to pre-authorize and then upon shipping. That's a more complex animal because you've got to deal with voids and cancellations. It's on our roadmap to discuss credit card processing in general, but this current module does not support that.
Okay, so this is a question from the same person, and it sounds like you may have started answering it already. Is there an automation option to auto charge the card once the material is shipped? We don't want to have to process transactions one at a time. If we ship 50 orders that are all set to credit card, we just want to automatically process those.
Correct, and the answer to that would be if we had a full authorization and charge upon shipment, that would be a feature that might be in that solution. Again, at this time, this solution does not cover that.
Okay. We have another person asking, do you have an integration with retail, call center, POS?
Not particularly. I don't know what the requirement is. Again, the customer service representative can access any of the sales accounts, and then they could process it, but we don't have anything. If you're asking if someone makes a credit card charge, does it appear, and I'm kind of walking myself around this one, any payments that come into AX against an invoice will appear on the portal, whether they were generated by the portal or someone just went in. If you received a check or you received a payment from another mechanism in AX and it was recorded against the invoice, the portal would show that, but that would just be kind of an inquiry mode. It would not be an initiation mode. again, whether the payment's created by the portal or created as an AX, it all shows up on the portal. So hopefully that gets close to that answer.
Okay, so for the customer who's using this solution, so they're using AX 2012, they have to set up a merchant account, PCI compliances. Are there any other additional steps before they can begin using ePay?
No, they just have to license, of course, our solution, the e-banking suite, and purchase that module, and then have a merchant account, or let us help you get a merchant account. That's all you need to do. And then the Pay Fabric links with those various processors and gateways, and you're all set to go. Again, there's those two transactional charges. One is, of course, the merchant account, which, as if you take a credit card, then there's a whatever percentage that is taken on a merchant, and then that small Pay Fabric transaction fee per month.
Okay, another question that came in. What if the customer pays for multiple invoices from different legal entities?
Yes, so currently the software requires a portal for each legal entity. So they would log in to a portal. They could use the same username and password. It would have a different URL, but each legal entity would have their own portal that's separate. There is discussion about possibly having one portal that can handle multiple legal entities, but that's down the road.
Okay. Another person says, does ePay Advantage make it mandatory for all customers to use the web service, or would this be optional for customers to decide to use it or not?
Yeah, very good question, and I was remiss in showing that screen, but basically you have two ways to designate customers that are on eBay. You have an inquiry that's in the setup area that you can say, for instance, everyone with this set of criteria, standard AX inquiry, all of these folks should be on ePay, and or you can go into customer by customer and turn them on or off for ePay. Again, whenever someone gets designated for ePay, they'll automatically get an email, and the whole registration and login process is automated. Again, so there's no on the phone with them talking them through it. On the other hand, if you're on the phone and somebody wants to sign up, you can log into ePay as an admin and do that for them.
Okay. A few more questions. Can this handle subscription type orders, i.e. recurring shipments off of an order?
Yeah, so again, remember this is based on invoices. So if you have multiple invoices that are coming out, you can go in and easily select them all. But again, this is not triggered by an order and a shipment. Just keep that in mind. This is triggered by so as the invoice goes out, it can go off, and then the check. I don't think there's a feature where just because an invoice shows up, it automatically gets paid. But again, if that's an important consideration for you, if an invoice gets posted and you'd like it immediately paid, have a customer immediately pay it, please send that to me, and I'll make sure I get you the answer.
Okay. Are other direct European payment methods available, like Ideal, Sofort payment, etc., mostly just different payment methods per country in Europe?
Right. So we're expanding that and want to accommodate that as much as we can. Again, the product, as some of you may know, we've expanded. We have a new director of marketing, actually, Jonas Andersen, who's in Denmark, and we're expanding our footprint there. And so we do plan to make this a global product. And so please, if you have those kinds of inquiries, please get back to us. And we are going to be rolling out one of our first customers. Actually, looks to be in Denmark. So.
Okay, let's see if they're up. Will it be available in AX7?
It's a good question. AX7, as some of you may know, actually our solution is now available. We've been very active in the program throughout the year. We showed it at EMEA just about a week ago, and we just demoed it again this morning. So our solution's available. In terms of ePay, because it's a customer portal, we're still working with Microsoft to understand their customer portal strategy, and so we want to be careful that we don't interfere with that and align with that, but we'll definitely be looking at how that works. PayLink is a lot easier for us to do because it's not basically a customer portal. So it may be that PayLink will be the first thing on AX7 rather than ePay.
Okay, let's see. It looks like that's all of our questions for today.
Okay. If that's it, thank you very much, Ainsley, for coordinating this, and thank you all for attending morning or afternoon. And feel free to be in touch with us how we can provide any more information you might need or want.